Oh, man. All right. You ready to talk about this movie?
Yes, let me get my notes pulled up.
It's gonna be the greatest show! Come alive, come alive, go and light your light, let it burn so bright, in the morning, fantasy.
Are we...
Yes. 2 out of 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another fabulous episode of the Neon Valley Media Club. You got your boy Skorge. You got your boy Tsuku. You're about to get a daily dosage of some media.
Oh,
So come on down.
that's right. That's right. We watched The Greatest Showman. Mitchell here has never seen it. He's never seen it.
I mean, I have now.
Yep, which is kind of the theme of this show. If you have not watched it before or listened to our show before, every Thursday we post an episode, well, likely every Thursday, where we suggest a film for the other person to watch that they have never seen before. But last week, I suggested The Greatest Showman because me and Mitchell went to go see Deadpool 3, Deadpool versus Wolverine. And Mitchell, what is so funny? What are you laughing at?
No, I was just thinking about last week when
Oh, did I say last week? Yeah, no. Well, whoever's listening to this, they're going to listen to this in the far future of like 2032. Yeah, I'm thinking. So they don't know. Before we get into any review or how we feel about this or into our segments, let's give our initial ratings. Are you ready, Mitchell?
our initial rate,
Our initial ratings.
not our current... I don't remember what my initial rating was.
Why would it be different? For this movie, not for Brazil. What are you talking
No,
about?
not from Brazil.
Yeah, why
Okay,
wouldn't you
hold on.
remember your initial rating? This is we haven't reviewed it yet. This is your initial rating.
Okay,
What are you talking about?
Okay, we're back on track. I realized that at the end we're going to... It's only been a week. It's just been a really...
It's been a
really
long week. Yeah, it's been a long
week. But
I have a different haircut,
but-
I'm pretty sure.
my initial rating... Do the countdown ready. 3,
Okay.
2, 1,
8 out of
5.
10. Ooh, a 5. Okay. You're right down
And
that middle.
I was thinking 4, but I was like, I don't think the movie did anything wrong.
Okay.
I just wasn't into it.
Okay.
The songs didn't. And again, I thought the choreography, one of the first things I mentioned was like, I like how the set design looked like you're watching a play and not just a movie with, big cinematic
Yeah.
CGI.
There's a bit of a balance of both, I would say. Because
yeah.
they have those slow motion scenes with the big, like, circle, they'll spin around the entire person like Frozen,
But I like using it as like an emphasis on effects versus that's how we're going to create the scene. There's only one scene that I was like, this is kind of weird. But I love the
get to that.
choreography. I think they did a fantastic job. The casting, I think everything felt well and smooth. I just didn't
not your
care
movie.
for it. And that's where it's like, I don't want to give it like a 4 or a lower rating because I don't think the movie did anything wrong. It just wasn't the kind of movie that I don't even want to say kind. It just, this one personally didn't resonate.
All right, fair enough. I am kind of on that opposite end of the spectrum, but I will say that I view this movie as a guilty pleasure. I don't necessarily view this as a movie that's like
Okay.
just good. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, fucking everything across the board of this is amazing. It's more about how this movie makes me feel when I'm watching it and like the suspension of disbelief that I think I am able to have, because I will admit the part of me that actually takes away from this movie is the reality of P.T. Barnum. And because I don't know how much you know about his real life or the actual story behind it, but like he's just not a good dude. Like he is a piece of shit. He is an animal abuser. He's a human abuser.
That was one thing I thought about. I was like weren't circuses famous for mistreated animals for like a really long time?
Yeah. And I will say the movie does a good job at kind of conveying him, maybe not the best job, but I think it does a pretty good job at conveying him as a villain at certain parts. Because I think really the kind of like main good guy of this movie is Zac Efron's character, is Bailey, Peter Bailey. I think his name is Bailey. Because it's what ends up becoming Bailey and Barnum or whatever.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't Bailey, because I remember I looked at the credits because I was like, who did he play? Because I was expecting it to be Bailey. It starts with the C.
Oh, you're so right. Cecil or like
Philip Carlisle.
Carlisle. Yes. Okay, that's right.
Because I was expecting that, he must have been Bailey then. And then when I looked it up when I looked at the credits, I was like, Carlisle.
Yeah. And again, I don't know how much of that relates into the reality, because there was a lot of liberties taken with this story. It kind of feels like somebody who heard about P.T. Barnum's rise to fame and then refused to like fact check or look up anything about the reality of it, and then just wrote a musical. You know what I mean? It's like there's like, because one, I guess like if we're to get into some inaccuracies here as like a weird little aside for this being Disney Plus cites this as a biography. I don't know why they do that. It's cited as a musical biography. Gotcha. And that's just not true at all, and I don't think it's a good look for Disney. This guy was not a good guy. You know what I mean? So it's like I think the story that they're trying to tell does have a good message to it. I like the Barnum that they portray. This guy who, while yes, taking advantage of a system, is taking advantage of a system at the benefit of people who don't normally have the access to that. You know, because like you could argue like, oh, well, he's just using these people as a sideshow gimmick. Like he's like, all this shit. But it's like, yes, but they're still benefiting from that in a way that otherwise they would not, in a society that they do not have the option to benefit from anything. Like, sadly, I'm not saying that that's good, but there was no other way. So there is that kind of devil's advocate argument of like, well, did he do a good thing by putting these people in a position where they could make really good money, be in the public eye, and have people like them? Or is it just pure manipulation? You know what I mean? Because I'm a little bit two minds about it.
I think are you saying that the ends justify the means in this case?
Maybe not 100%, but like a little? I don't know, because like, yeah, I don't know. It's a very hard, nuanced conversation.
Because there was actually one thing that I didn't like. I didn't like how after he clearly shut them out, after he clearly walked away from them because he found a shiny new toy, they still just ran back with open arms, and like, yeah, I didn't see him having to earn back that respect.
Yeah, I will admit, yes, the last like 20 minutes feels like maybe it could have been fleshed out more. And again, this movie actually isn't that long. It's only like an hour and 40 or something like that, like an hour 35.
Hour 42, I think.
Yeah, so like if it was to be a 2-hour long movie, it probably would overstay its welcome a little bit too much. But I do feel like there is that need for the fallout for him to kind of redeem himself a little bit more, because the redemption is just that song, the From Now On, which I love. I love that scene, and I love that song of him in the bar and them coming back, and then he has the moment of like, I want to change my life around. I like that, but I also do agree that it's like, why? Like what, other than losing your wife, is that the main reason you realize like, oh, I fucked up? Or is there a deeper thing? Like, yeah, it's a little washy on that. I will agree. Even like you said, when he shuts them out from the party, like later in the movie. And even earlier than that, when you have him talking to Carlisle, Zac Efron's character, and they're asking where they should be during one of the shows. And he's like, oh, not my booth. It's too visible.
Exactly. Yep.
But they do come at it from the angle where Zac Efron's character's like, too visible. Like you're supposed to be aware that this is not a good thing. So
right.
it's very interesting. Hugh Jackman fucking nails it as the main star in this. Some people don't like his voice very much. They don't think he has a strong enough voice to be like a main star in a musical, which I can kind of understand. There's a few notes he hits where I'm like, where it's like the from now on. It kind of sounds like a Hermit or Kermit the Frog a little bit. It's fine though. It's fine.
Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, Kermit the Frog here from now on. I don't know. You're not a big fan of musicals in general though, right? We should make that kind of a
yeah.
clear.
Like I like Evita. I like Phantom of the Opera. I feel like there's one more that I've been like, I feel like this is just more from indoctrination from my mom watching it a ton, but Mamma Mia, like I think I've actually even seen it live.
Oh shit! Okay, you got some firsthand experience, nerd.
Yeah, I know.
What are you, a theater kid?
I used to be. I was actually the lead in a few plays. We've talked about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we have. I did say we need to have a Neon Valley challenge where we recreate the bar scene.
You like the bar scene, don't you? You like the bar scene, don't you?
I'm not gonna lie, I still didn't really care for the song, but the choreography of the bar scene was so cool. Just the choreography, specifically, he gets on the bar. They're both on the bar. And they're taking shots and then stepping forward while the bartender is like placing shots for them.
Yes.
And
the bartender's the fucking owner of that scene. Like, he's so good. God.
It's just like that kind of stuff I really appreciate because I know that takes a lot of work to get done that looks that smooth and flawless. So I do have a big appreciation. The bar scene felt like it felt like it had the most energy. Again, I just don't know why it didn't like resonate because I, in fact, today listened to Evita like when I was on my way to work to try to be like, because not that like I love every song from it, but I'm like, there's things about these songs that I really enjoy, and I'm like, I couldn't find that in this. The only notes that I noticed that I really had was the very first song they play. I like the intro buildup is really cool, but then like the rest of the song just doesn't have the same energy.
Okay, it's funny you say that. I want to get back to the bar scene for sure, because I have a lot to say about the bar scene. But it's funny you bring up the intro because I agree. The intro is incredible. The kind of like silent movie, like stingers when you hear that. Oh my God!
It was
and you see him with the fucking cane and the light coming through. And then his little vocal. So good, so good. But I was like, but for some reason I agree with you. The chorus is underwhelming. And it kind of like pulls you out of that energy. I don't know what it is. I will admit that intro, there's something about that song that's like the chorus does not do it.
I felt like that set the tone for the movie for me. Was like I kept being set up with these scenes, and then there's like this. The rest of the song, the parts, it felt very. That's what it was. It felt very. They would introduce a very cool, interesting thing. And the rest of the song just did not grow.
Doesn't match that energy of that hook, or that one thing. Yeah,
it's like they're starting with their best bite, and then the rest of the burger is just like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. There's only about 3 songs in this that I like really, really resonate with. That I'll even listen to like on Spotify, like on the way to work, or like while I'm at work or some shit. Like there are some songs in this that I genuinely like as songs. But most of them, like the other 7 or 8, are just kind of like musical songs that I like, but I'm not head over heels for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so going back to the bar song, though, because I do have a lot to say about that. I did take some notes because I love that scene. Like you said, the choreography, I really like the song too. I think it has a super catchy chorus. Just the don't you want to get away from this uptown? Like it's very poppy.
That was the one chorus that I was like, okay, this is
And the variations in the
fun.
chorus, where at first it's
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman singing it, and he's saying, like, here's the key to get you out of the cage. And then in the second chorus, Zac Efron is like, I don't need a key. I'm not even in a cage. And then the third chorus, they're singing together, and they say, we don't need to make a key because we... Oh, no, I'm sorry. We don't need the key because we know how to make one. And, like, that... I love that kind of progression in lyricism. Like, I like that, if that makes sense.
So I remember that's where I couldn't like the song was I felt like it was very simple lyrics.
But it's a musical. You can't be too ethereal with a musical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like that. But even then, I like that metaphor of like getting someone to take a key, and then it's like, I don't need the key, and then you both going like, well, we can literally make the key. Like, that's still metaphorical in a sense. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not super fucking deep by any means. It's very baseline fucking kiddie pool metaphor.
It's there. They weren't just like, hey, we can do the things that we want to do.
Join
and
my show.
Other people can't.
We'll make money. And it's like they tried, you know. And even beyond that, the things in the scene to the deeper level, because like you were saying, where they're taking shots, if you actually notice, Hugh Jackman never takes a shot beyond his first one, because everything after that is him trying to convince Zac Efron to do it. So he's trying to get him drunk. So he'll pretend to take a shot, or he'll pretend to fill his and then drink, but he doesn't actually drink. And at a part where he goes to sit down next to the piano, he starts playing the piano while Zac Efron's back is turned. But it's an automatic piano, that like one of those jukebox pianos that plays by itself.
I think I do remember seeing that, yeah.
And then when Zac Efron turns around, he shuts the piano and like goes like... So he's trying to play this part as he's like way more talented, and he's like more in like...
Yeah.
And those little details I fucking love, because I'm like, they didn't have to do that. They already wrote the song. They have the choreography. They didn't even need to include these little details of him being this kind of like...
manipulative.
Yeah, kind of a scam artist in a sense, you know, like this kind of swindler where he always tries to look like he's better than he is, you know?
Okay, so it's a biography, and you were going to just kind of go with your own story, but... Again, other than just like, I say being caught, because he wasn't like outright like trying to like kiss her affectionately. Like, he was clearly surprised by it, even if he didn't maybe pull away at first.
Yeah.
But I just feel like he doesn't, like, if you're going to pretty much create the story, why not like have him learn his lesson? Like, it's the part that I think I keep coming back to.
But I think he was supposed to. You know, it's like air quotes. I think he did learn his lesson in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, I think... it's like I said, I think that's what the point of the From Now On scene is supposed to convey, is that he learned that he was too focused on the job, he was too focused on the money, and kind of proving to everyone that he was better than what he really was, you know? Because I will say some of my least favorite scenes do involve either him and his wife, or Zac Efron and Zendaya. Those are some of my least favorite scenes in the movie. Like, I think the trapeze scene with Zac Efron and Zendaya, where they're doing the Rewrite the Stars song, it's like a beautiful moment in hindsight and like on paper, but when I'm watching it, I don't feel like, wow, this is like a beautiful moment. Like, I don't know. I don't really connect with those songs necessarily.
Fair.
Oh, that one did sound like an EDM song to me, the Rewrite the Stars. It sounded like a Dash Berlin or Armin van Buuren song.
Okay, I could hear that.
Yeah, it kind of had that build up to it. I was just waiting for the dun, 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 dun. Never happened.
You know what scene I don't understand, and I feel like probably has an explanation, is when he's running. I think it's the one where he like realizes, oh, I need to go back you know, oh, he like runs and jumps on a train that goes off into the fucking mountains. And I was just like,
Yeah.
where the fuck is he going?
How far away did he go from his wife? I do think that was a visual metaphor, I will admit, because that part was
I was
funny.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was the from now on scene, not the end, where he's like trying to go back to his wife, and it's like, yeah, because they lived in the same town, the same city.
Yeah, so I think what ended up happening is she went back to her.
But they lived down the street from there. That was the whole point. Remember, they point that out in the movie.
So, yeah. So that's the only thing where I was like, where the fuck is he going?
The only bar in that town is a train rides away, okay? That's just, you have to accept that, you know?
I was just like, did I fucking like black out for like 15 minutes? Is he going to Hogwarts?
Yeah, no, I did notice that too, where I was like, where's he going? You know, like... It'd be funnier if it just cut to black there and he just leaves. He's like, I'm going off to the Andes Mountains. Fuck y'all. Bye. No, I noted that down too. I was like, that's kind of strange.
I also just saw Rotten Tomatoes gave this a 57%.
Yeah.
IMDb gave it a 7.5 stars.
Okay. Interesting.
I was like, that's a pretty interesting swing.
That's about what our vote. That's about like where we're at. I would say you're
honestly,
because like I said, like I'm an 8, but it's probably leaning more towards like a 7.5. So you know what I mean? Like that. That's really funny. Yeah, I think there's just a lot to this movie when it comes to the direction, the level of effort that's put into the choreography and music is something that is really like I respect leaps and bounds, because there's so much detail. Like even during the "This Is Me" scene, like while maybe the effects won't hold up forever because they don't look incredible, there is some really good shots where it's like the main, like the bearded lady, when she has her solo near the end of that "This Is Me," there's this moment where all the other people jump and then they freeze midair, but they're like moving in slow motion, and she's moving at regular speed and singing the song.
Oh yeah.
And like scenes like that are like really incredible. Like they do those so well, and they're very impactful. Yep. And I think they do an interesting job of like, how did you feel about the racial kind of undertones they have in it? Because I will say, I think they handled them pretty well. They don't really feel like pandering or like whistleblowing by any means.
When it comes to stuff like that, again, I just really hope that in his actual biography that he was not somebody who was prejudiced and terrible to people of color, because I do not like when people are like kind of prettied because they want to make a movie and portray their life, and they're like, oh, except for the fact that he just hated people who were not white. Yeah,
I get that. But at the same time, there is the idea of like people who end up watching this movie would hopefully only take away a positive message from it. So it's like there is, because I agree with you 100%. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because I agree with you. They shouldn't sugarcoat somebody's past just to like make their point, you know. But also
or be able to.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think they're doing it to not make it okay. Like, what if in his biography he beat his wife? They're not going to show him hitting her. It's like, if you're going to refrain from stuff, but you want to use a specific person and their life story to tell a message. Yeah, I don't think weird. You can just.
It's weird. It's the one part about this movie that is very strange. Like, and it's where I try to be like, I don't want it to, because I don't think it should take away from the messages of the movie. Not that this is like a groundbreaking fucking like, whoa, this is going to change your life.
This is the 10 Commandments.
It's going to change the projection of like fucking racial interactions in our country. Yeah, inequalities. It's not doing that by any means. But if the message of the movie is a positive one, and it's hard to say that it's like a bad thing. I don't know. It's very interesting. This movie is so nebulous in that sense, where
you know what it feels like?
Yeah,
it feels like a little bit like a manipulative thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, but you also have to assume like Carlisle's character, right? Like, obviously, he must have not been racist for the reasons he wanted to date Zendaya
that would
shit like that.
Have to be genuine. Yeah, that would be a very weird thing for him to fake.
Yeah, if they find out later, it's like, well, he liked the one. It's like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, that would be really weird. So, I mean, in that sense, maybe they just, I don't know, because, it's, maybe they thought, like, I don't know anything about Barnum's history, so, like, I don't want to say, like, yeah, he was super racist, and they covered that up in this movie. But let's say they did do that. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about that, because they've obviously covered up other things about shit in his past, of course, to make this more of an uplifting movie. Because it's not quite on the level, like, right? It's not quite on the level if you were to make like a, I don't know, like if you were to make like a musical about Hitler, but then only said the things where it's like, yeah, but he really brought in some good like military to his like country, and
he brought up the money they were bringing in.
Dude, they were
expanded
the monetary system, like, dude. They were living large in Germany in certain areas.
And obviously, I'm not saying that he was Hitler, but
exactly
when you use the same rule set at a different level of the spectrum, it looks a lot worse.
Yeah, it's like the role reversal thing in movies where it's like it's a hard argument to make, but it's like but still it's true, because I think about those, they have those movies in the 80s. Like there's a movie my dad used to watch, and I can't remember the name of it now, but essentially the plot is that there's 4 young boys, like preteens, that really just want to see this porn star's boobs. And then by the end of the movie, she like shows it to them in a hotel room. And it's like, they have this moment of like, whoa, we're adults now. This woman showed us her boobs and we got to see them. But imagine the role reversal. Just imagine a gender reversal where it's like 4 young girls that want to see a penis. And then a guy reveals his penis in a hotel room to 4 preteen girls. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like that does
is
not
awful.
work.
That is horrible.
Doesn't work at all. But for some reason, the first story I told you kind of almost sounds innocent. Like, why? What is it about? Why?
It sounds like a 90s comedy.
Yeah. It genuinely, like I don't know if it's this, and is that manipulation? Like, were we like tricked into thinking that's normal? But
absolutely.
Exactly, right? So everything's manipulation at the end of the day. We go on to our final feelings and things. There is a quote I wanted to read that's in this movie that, actually I have it up on my computer. It's in the scene where Carlisle and Barnum kind of first meet, and they're talking about how he sells plays and he sells, tickets to the circus. And Carlisle, Zac Efron's character, says, people leave your show a lot happier than they walked in. That's more than I could say for my plays. And then Barnum says, and yet you still sell tickets. And Carlisle says, it's because I'm selling virtue. And that's where that scene kind of ends on that line. And I love that back and forth in that quote, because it is a bit of a commentary on like classism, where it's like, are people in the upper class willing to watch, let's say, something quote unquote boring or posh or whatever at the sake of virtue, to feel like they're at this better level of like, moral or whatever it might be, elitism. Meanwhile, you have a show like Barnum's show that actually makes people happy, but it is at the expense of, not necessarily, I don't want to say at the expense of manipulation, at the expense of like shock value and like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't remember the exact word I'm looking for, but it's an interesting dichotomy to look at that, because what's worse? Or what's like, that, weirdly enough, this movie does not, I don't think it means to make you think that hard about entertainment as a whole in itself, but it makes me think about it. At least in this context of watching it, where I'm like, it is really interesting to think about what what entertainment can be considered manipulation, and then what entertainment is just entertainment. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting.
We're getting philosophical on this one.
Yeah, kind of have to, because I'll even admit that scene where he convinces the shorter, like the dwarf character to become isn't like the most convincing in my opinion, because he's just kind of like, he says no, they're gonna laugh at me, and then there is a moment where he says, well, they're gonna laugh at you anyway, might as well make money, right? And then he walks away, he's just like, fuck you, and then like leaves, and it's like, okay, that's a realistic response. At least he didn't immediately fall into that. But then Hugh Jackman is like, well, I imagine a warrior, a soldier on a horseback with guns, and they don't laugh at him. And that was it. That's all he needed to say. That felt a little bit like, that's it? That's all you had to...
No, I agree. And then again, too, it also, it just didn't feel genuine, but in the sense of like, it wasn't supposed to. Like, you could tell, because he even says like, well, you're going to be the star. Like, he was going to tell him anything he felt was going to convince him.
True, because he doesn't end up being the main attraction. None of them really do necessarily. They're all kind of just sideshows.
Okay, I did love that. Well, I guess like the whole tattooed person, like back then, was like a much bigger deal, because I was just like, it just looks like
it's a guy.
Just another Tuesday. Yeah, it's just a guy. And then for the twins, I got confused for a second, because I was like, they literally just look the same. Like they're just twins. I didn't realize they were conjoined.
No, when they're like arms around each other. Yeah. And I noticed that too, because it was like, they don't make the best case for them being conjoined, because it's like because you see every single limb and you see you know what I mean? It's like, well, why are they conjoined? I don't really have too much else on this as far as it goes. I have one comment about how I think it's a little weird that I think Jenny's reaction to Barnum shutting her down is a little extreme. Like I feel like she's blowing up her own career, but making it seem like she's blowing up his career. Like, it didn't really make sense, because she's like, well, I'll just stop doing the tour now. And he's like, you'll ruin me. And it's like, well, wouldn't that ruin her too? Like, what? Like, if she just stopped doing a tour, she's the singer. She's the
No, so I don't know if you remember, she was guaranteed like to get 60% of profits from all the sales, but he put up all the money for the entire tour.
Okay, yeah, money-wise, yes.
So she's not out of money, and she could still go sing somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess she didn't care about the career like worldwide. If she could just go back to Sweden or go back to like Europe.
Yeah, I don't know. I've met some spiteful women in my life.
Oh, you want to go down this route?
Just kidding.
Go on. No, I'm all ears, buddy.
No, we're good. Do you have anything else you'd like to ask?
You sure about that? And he doesn't say the line, this is the greatest show, but he leaves off on where that line would be while he's watching the daughter show, and then the movie ends. I like that, because it's like him realizing, like, this is what it was all about. This is the greatest show, is my daughter's being creative through what I've done, and like things like that. Like, I like that.
Yeah. No, that I think that's a solid ending.
Yeah. All right, so I guess I don't think we've changed too much as far as our ratings will go, but do you want to give your final rating on this?
It's gonna be a 4. I think that it's ironic that it feels a bit manipulative in terms of how they portray him, while telling a story about a man who manipulates people, with the idea that joy is the end answer, because it's like the person who's like, I'm selling you and this is good for you, and you can tell because the thing I'm selling you says this is good for you. Like, is that not just another layer of manipulation?
But yes, but here's the thing: is this is where it gets a little bit nuanced on that, because I agree with you with that. It's like, because I see what you're saying. It's like selling you as something like, this is good for you. It's good for you. But then if it actually isn't good for you, like let's say it's filled with sugar, it's filled with fucking fat, it's filled with bad shit, and it's like, oh, but eat this, it's good for you. I don't think that's what's happening here, because like me personally, I still walk away from this feeling good. and I'm not going to hate any other races or manipulate anyone. Do you know what I mean? And I like,
yeah.
So it's like, yes, I am being tricked into consuming something to make me feel good, but I also I'm not getting, like, nobody's really seeing any of the negatives. I don't know. It's very difficult to convey.
And I'm not saying too that I think this is conveying evil messages.
No,
it's more of me seeing that it's ironic that the messaging is ironic in how it's portrayed and then how 100%. They show it. And part of that for me is like, that is the part that I can't get past for some reason.
Okay, so you know what? If even I would say, like, it's kind of one of those things where, all right, if you have a movie like Shawshank Redemption, right? That's like a very popular movie, famous, world-renowned movie about the Holocaust, and is very, for lack of a better term, kind of manipulative in the sense that you're gonna feel bad towards this, but like, of course you are. It's the Holocaust. You're supposed to feel bad. Like, it's the point of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it takes liberties on what really happened to drive home further. Like Boy with the Striped Pajamas. Have you ever seen that one? No. Oh, okay. That's another one where it's like, it's about gas chambers and a young boy who like got stuck in one and all this stuff. But again, that one takes liberties where it's not 100% a true story, right? Those are the equivalent of the virtue that I think they're commenting on in this movie, where the enjoyment of Barnum's thing is the manipulation that something like this movie does, where it's like both of them are manipulating you, but one of them you're walking out of feeling really sad because you know more about what happened in the Holocaust, and another one you're walking out of feeling happy because you just watched a fun movie with good things. You just kind of see what does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's one of those where it's more of the realization too that you almost have to look at that with manipulation being like not necessarily having a negative connotation, and just saying this is a way that you are able to affect the emotions of the person viewing this.
Yeah, because we've talked about that before. Because like everything is in media is almost a form of manipulation. Like, if you have a certain chord progression,
make you feel a certain way. Yeah,
exactly. In music, if you have a certain thing, you're trying to make someone feel a certain way. In movies, if you cut at a certain beat in a conversation, you're trying to make them feel a certain way. You know, like you're trying to quote unquote manipulate people's feelings in a sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that this movie, inadvertently or not, is kind of meta. Right. In its sense of, like you're saying, being manipulative by portraying this person in a way that they are not actually portrayed, in a way that he was manipulating people by portraying them in the way that they did not want to be portrayed.
Because I don't think like they went out of their way. They're like, guys, I just smoked 12 pounds of crack and I figured it out. We're gonna like.
And in the same way, I should make it clear that I'm not saying we should make a Holocaust movie that makes you feel good coming out of it and be like, oh, we should just look at the good side of the Holocaust. Like,
right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in the terms of a spectrum of manipulation and the virtue that this movie kind of brings up when it comes to plays and something like a circus, I think that's the kind of the dichotomy, the spectrum of it. Yeah, where it's like, okay, are you going into a movie for virtue to walk out of it and feel like you learned something and you're better as a person? Or are you going into it and just being like, you know what, that was fun and I just had a good time and I'm not going to take any like personal stake in coming out of it and being like, I'm going to change how I view people because of this, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's funny, even after saying all that, I'm still like, I might even go down to a 7, but I'm like, I'm right. I'm going to say 7.5. I'm like right in that middle. Like the music, when I'm in it and I'm vibing with the fucking choreography and I'm feeling that energy, I'm like, this is a fucking 8. But when I'm in those other scenes where I'm questioning the morality of Burnham and there's not really like, or Barnum, and there's not like great conversation, like that brings it down to like a 6. So yeah, I'm definitely floating between those.
Fair. Very fair.
But all right, I'd say this was a good episode. Did you have your suggestion for next week, sir?
I do. And just in time for spooky season, Platform 2.
Oh, I didn't want to watch this. I fucking hate you. Oh, I hate you. Oh, I hate you so much. God damn it. I hate you. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I saw this. I saw it on Netflix, and I was like, wow, this looks so much worse than the first one. And I had no intention of watching it. Did not want to. All right. All right. Who knows? You know, who knows? Might be good. It might be like a Terminator 2 situation, you know?
10
T2.
out of 10.
Never know. Never know. It's going to suck. It's going to suck. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you don't want to be spoiled for The Platform 2, which is on Netflix right now, make sure to watch that before our next Thursday episode. And, Mitchell, why don't you tell the people at home your favorite brand of peanut butter?
Jiffy.
Jiffy doesn't exist. You're thinking of
Jif.
Jif.
Jif, yeah.
You've been Mandela affected.